You're tuned to Planet Vero Radio. I am Cindy Schwartz, and this is the Patient Partner Show. We're broadcast on 101.7 FM Real Radio, and we are a podcast on Spreaker. Jeannie Roller's with me from Indiana. We've got Jeff on again. This is interesting isn't the right word, Jeff, but it is some story. I know exactly what you're talking about. So in a previous podcast, we were talking about how you were shaved from your genitals up to your neck bone for a surgery that probably didn't need all that shaving. My opinion, I didn't go to medical school, but Jeannie Roller had information on that. Let's talk about now how you went into another surgery. Now you're getting to be quite a veteran of surgeries, and, you know, even still things are happening. And you asked the people at that particular hospital what, Jeff?
I had requested to be able to wear underwear because at this point I had done enough studying to realize that every patient gets stripped naked. I don't care if it's finger surgery.
Right.
That's what they do. So I said, look, you know, it's my collarbone, pacemaker. I want to wear my underwear. I was told by the nurse that I'd gotten a whole. Surgeon said it's fine. He didn't care. But
what did the surgeon tell you exactly, Jeff, from your memory?
I said, look, I don't want to go in there without my underwear. Can I wear my underwear? His response was, I don't have a problem with that, but you're going to have to clear it with the hospital. And I said, okay. And I called and talked to a OR nurse. They put me on the phone, and I said, look, I've got a procedure coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm requesting to wear my underwear. And she says, you can't. And I questioned her again. I said, why not? She said, because they're not sterile. And I said, well, why do they got to be sterile? She goes, it's just we require no underwear. And I said, well, then give me some surgical underwear. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, they're not sterile either.
Okay, so let me stop you right there. What year was this, Jeff, that this happened?
This was September of 21.
2021. So we know Jeannie Roller from previous podcasts from Misty Roberts at Medical Patient Modesty that surgery-specific underwear has been invented by a Mayo Clinic's orthopedic surgeon and is perfectly, all the bells and whistles have been dotted, the I's, Q's, T's, whatever you want to say, that it's specifically for surgery. Jeannie, what do you think?
Well, yes, the underwear is sterile, but the other point is, Cindy, not all of your body is sterile anyhow. Do they not allow all of your body into the surgery, into the OR?
Well, we've talked about that now. Right. We're not the doctors and, you know, we're not the protocol. So, you know, what do we know? That's what they tell us. Okay, Jeff, so go ahead.
So I kept pressing her, and I said, I don't understand. This doesn't make any sense to me. And I said, why are you so concerned about that area not having sterile? She says, well, that region needs to be sterilized. And I said, what? And she said, yes. And I said, are you telling me you're going to sterilize my genitals? And she said, yes. And I said, and you're going to shave me too? She goes, no, we don't need to shave you, but we will have to I said, well, then I want an all-male team if that's got to happen. And she said, well, I don't call those shots. You're going to have to talk to patient relations. So I did. I called them, and I said, look, here's my problem. I want an all-male team in the OR. Well, they never really properly responded to me as a complete positive, but they said they would do everything possible. So the day came, I went in, and when I got back to the pre-op, which my wife was able to go in for that one, I said, well, that's a good sign. And my nurse, my pre-op nurse, was a male.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, I didn't really need a male for that. And what I have to say first, before I get to the surgery, is that in post-op, I had to do a 23-hour observation after the surgery, which put me there overnight. I went through three different shifts of nurses. All three were male. But nobody did anything intimate to me before or after. But where my request was for in the surgery. Mm-hmm. Well, when I got in there, you could have cut the tension with a knife, and I figured out why. They knew what my request was for all male. They also knew it's in my allergy, no Versed. Mm-hmm. Well, I think they all realized, wait a minute, he doesn't want females in here. This guy's fully lucid, and we've got two females in here, and one of them standing next to him to shave or to clean his genitals. And she stood there the whole time like a statue while I was still awake. And they had folded my gown from my chest up my legs from both sides and had this little square covering me. And then finally they hit me with propofol, which is what took me out.
Right.
And I knew I almost was going to get up off the table.
Mm-hmm.
But I was frozen. I'm like, why did they do this? Why is she here? And now I was asleep, but I know now that guess who washed my genitals?
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I didn't want. So they thought they were getting past me because whoever scheduled the OR team said, well, he's going to have Versed all pumped in him. He'll never know the difference.
Well, that's what we say is our opinion. Yeah, we say that. Jeannie and I say that all the time. That's our opinion. That's what they do. In fact, I've had nurse practitioners tell me that work in the OR. So, wow.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
Their ace in the hole.
Yeah.
Is that we give them the juice. You're responsive enough to say, sure, I'll roll on my side. You may even talk, but you're not. They call it conscious anesthesia. There's nothing conscious when you can't remember. You're not conscious. That's when you strip. So that was my experience with that, which only made things for me worse because I was still reeling and.
All right. And you have to have these surgeries. I mean, people do. I mean, you can refuse any of it at the end of and die. You know, you can do that. We all can do that. That is an alternative, right? Of course, there'd probably be something said about that. Okay, not to cut you short then, Jeff. So then so now you're traumatized from that. You know, you try to do your due diligence to take care of yourself. You know, you can't handle certain kind of things. You know, you wanted to leave. You know, I get you. I did too in mine. Now what happens with a urinary catheter? We have like 3 minutes left of this female staff.
Yeah, okay. Well, that actually was my first major surgery. No, actually second, but the one was a back surgery. I don't remember any of that. But that one, I was very apprehensive because I found out, not because I was told, but I looked it up, that they were going to catheterize me. They were going to use a sleeve to put up my rectum for resecting my colon. And I mean, I'm like, oh my gosh. So I asked the doctor, I said, is this necessary? And he goes, oh, yeah, but don't worry about it. You'll be asleep. And I'm thinking, well, what good is that going to do? It still happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he said, yeah, and it can come out in 24 hours. Well, to me, 24 hours is the same as 24 minutes. It doesn't matter. It's the in and out part that matters. So then it happened. I went in and it was done. I had no idea because I'd been given Versed. And so I found out after the fact that they had a student nurse practice on me. So that really upset me because, once you're out, he's a good practice dummy.
Mm-hmm.
So that really bothered me because, it was some young girl. But the next day, a nurse came in to round on me. And I said to her, I was told by the doctor that this catheter could come out in 24 hours. She looked on her computer and she said, oh, you're right. You want it out now? Well, then all of a sudden I went, well, wait a minute. Who's taking it out? Well, she was. So she
and
said,
young nurses.
Well, yeah, but then she said, well, I'll be right back. And I'm laying there going, uh-oh, what am I going to do about this one? Now, this was before the heart surgery. So this is what brought me into my awareness. She comes back in the door. And she's got this tray, and 2 young nurse students, female, were right behind her. They went over there, put the juice on her hands to sanitize them, and they're going to stand there and watch.
And we have like a minute left, Jeff.
So the bottom line was when I asked them to leave, she got rattled, the nurse, because she should have asked. Then she says to them, he doesn't want any company, so they left. And then her demeanor changed to not rattled anymore, but stern and angry. And I think she was angry because the fact that I embarrassed her in front of those student nurses.
Okay, now I'm going to stop you right there, Jeff, because we're going to do another podcast, and we're going to finish that story. So if you want to hear that, stay tuned to Jeff's third podcast, and he's going to tell you what happened. Jeannie Roller, I mean, we've said it how many times before. It's crazy that what they're doing, what patients have to endure. It's just insane. It is just insane, and we can't figure out why and why the communication is just... there isn't any, and why the informed consent, there doesn't seem to be any. Stay tuned to Planet Vero Radio.